Okay. We're getting ready to start. So, hello everyone. Hello everyone. Welcome to the first qualifying run of the Galactic Pod Racing Circuit for 2021. My name is Game Draco. I have done this game since 2008. And joining with me is my longtime friend and rival in this game, in Mikey Burger, to start this epic qualifying run and the start of the tournament for this year.
Great, thanks very much for introducing me, Game Draco. Okay, so yeah, sorry about the delay. Obviously, I think we just had a few technical issues there, but I think we're finally going to get started now. So looking forward to a very fun match here with the 4 players today. So we've got NachoBrado, Domirae, Noch, and Zelascelar for the first qualifying round. And I believe Game Draco actually selected Mongaza Speedway as being the track for the amateur circuits, which is going to be, obviously there's four circuits to choose from. We've got amateur, semi-pro, galactic, and invitational. We've got one from each group, and this is going to be the first one. But yeah, we've got our 4 players today for this track. Nacho participated in last year's annual match, finishing a respectable 5th, which was tied with Zelascelar. So it should be interesting to see how they seed in this round, going up to the group stage, which will be later. Then we've got Domirae, who is a new player as far as tournaments go. This is his first tournament, and he's shown a lot of promise. So really looking forward to seeing how he gets on. And then we have Noch as well, who is also an experienced player with regards to tournaments. So, definitely be interested to see how she gets on. Yeah, Nacho, and actually I believe all of these players are also supporting a coexisting event, which I'm also running for David Stubbs as well. So David Stubbs was a legendary veteran of this game and rather a good friend of mine, who unfortunately has been very ill. So that was an event really done to honor him. So it's been very kind of those players to do both events. Obviously there's a lot going on, it's very busy, but yeah, for this first track, Mongaza Speedway, there's going to be 8 minutes time limit. They have to get the best time they can for 3 laps with no skips for any of the tracks, for this first round being 8 minutes. And I expect probably for the winning position, probably looking somewhere around about a mid 35, I would think, perhaps. It'd be interesting to see how close any of these players can get to that time today.
Yeah, and I will note too, I was part of the qualifying track committee for the past 2 years, and we chose Mongaza Speedway for this track in honor of Davey.
Yeah, and very kind of you to do so. Thank you for that. It's definitely the track he was best at. And I think probably should we give our players the countdown?
Yeah, I think we're ready to go.
All right. Would you like me to do that, Ben, or...
Nacho just pinged me. He said, "Count on, please, Game Draco."
All right, here we go.
Countdown has been given. They should start pretty shortly. So this is a track where it's kind of like a blink it and you'll miss it, because it will take under a minute to complete a 3-lap run of this track.
Yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see our first sub-40s in this round for this track. Now we're doing qualifying. It's a track where you really have to take a lot of risk if you want to get a good time here, especially in this situation for qualifying. But yeah, we should probably explain there's always a little bit of a delay between it being live, so it's usually about 30 seconds or so just for spectators. It looks like our players are starting now, and the clock started to run. So So they're going to have 8 minutes to do their best 3-lap time they can. And there's a lot of strategy in general with qualifying, because obviously, I mean, we've sort of suggested to them that they should. Oh, we've already seen a death there from Nacho, and this is exactly what we mean: is that you know, if they don't, if they do too many restarts and don't actually get any time, then they end up getting the penalty time, which is really something you don't want to do for each of the tracks. So it's important, really, that they sort of get a reasonable time and then build on it. You know, especially on the longer tracks, which we're going to see later.
Yes, particularly with Gravine Gateway and the Gauntlet, which are two of the longest tracks in the whole game, and will be the longest tracks of this qualifying run too.
Yeah, and that's why we can see quite a lot of deaths already, because obviously they're trying to get the best time here as opposed to just surviving.
Oh my god, Domirae got a 39!
Oh, it was a 40.004 for Domirae, that was.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is going to be one tough time to beat.
I suspect he'll take another 2/10 off that, if I'm honest. At least.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have Zelascelar coming in with a 41. That's a 41.44 for Zelascelar.
Yeah, we should probably say we've got 23 competitors at the moment in this whole event, so should be very interesting to see how it progresses.
And Nacho comes in with a 40.795.
So I think Nock is the only person to not have a time at the moment.
Oh, I think Domirae got a 39.
Yeah, I didn't catch it exactly. It was a 39 something.
And let me just note, breaking the 40-second mark on Mongaza Speedway is really hard to do.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world, certainly. Nacho coming in. And Zelascelar. So that's a 40.52, 518 for a Nacho.
39.926 for Domirae.
And Nox just posted the time, but I didn't catch her time. I think it was a 42 of some form.
And Zelascelar finished the time. Another 40.545 for Nacho.
Yeah, quite difficult to keep track of all the players here. Let's see what they're actually doing. We're down to 3 minutes now, though.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And Zelascelar comes in with a 41.0 something.
1.03 for Zelascelar.
41.077.
Oh, it was 07, was it? Okay.
Oh, 37.
7.
So 03. 27, yeah.
So that's an improvement. So Domirae leading. Nacho second place. Domirae coming in again with a
39.938.
918. Looks like a slight improvement. So perhaps I was being a little ambitious, saying perhaps I thought maybe a mid-35.
Nach, I think, just came in with a 42.706, it looks like.
Yes.
And I think Zelascelar just came in with a 40.71.785, it looks like.
So that's another improvement for Zelascelar.
And Nacho came in with a 40.10.
40.19, I think it was.
191, it looks like.
Yep, so another improvement there. And again, so we're down to the last minute. Now, players can start a new attempt.
Looks like Delroy came in with a 39.895.
Yeah, players can start new attempts as long as the time hasn't run out. So they don't have to finish the attempt they're on, they just have to have started it.
Yeah.
We're under a minute
now. We're at under a minute. Yep.
I believe one of the players might have needed a warning for the final minute, possibly. Although...
I think Zelascelar is just calling it.
We might need to recheck these results, maybe.
Yeah, we might have to. I just told him time is now up.
Yeah, so these will be the last attempts for this track.
And not coming in with a 41 on the last attempt. 41.830.
Very nice.
And Nacho, I think, is calling it. So now we're going. So now with this, we have a 39.905 for Domirae, 41.830 for Nach. And now we're going into Doug Derby, which is a brutal Laguna Seca clone. Okay, Nacho said he's going to be using the we'll be right back. He's going to use the restroom, so we have some time to prepare. So in the meantime, we're waiting for Nacho. We'll mention with Doug Derby is that this is a track that's actually based off of a real life racetrack, Laguna Seca in Northern California. And it's this is one of the most brutal tracks in the game, and the Laguna Seca Raceway in real life is considered one of the most brutal tracks in the world. Okay, Nacho is back. And Nak looks like he has to reset his game.
So just for our viewers, I've just attached the two schedules of both tournaments. So there is, for David's event, there's a match tomorrow scheduled, which also includes Zelascelar. So that will be there as well. But obviously, also the any upcoming matches for the annual tournament, our annual tournament for the next qualifying round will also be there in the links for anyone who would like to follow what's happening. But yeah, Doug Derby, 15-minute window for this one. Malastair, another Malastair track, which are always fun, in my opinion. It's usually very dark. There's a lot of interesting turns on this one, like Game Draco was saying. We've got some nice hairpins, chicanes. It's very tight through some sections, so it's a very challenging circuit, this one. And although we won't be seeing them, there are a few options for skips as well on this track.
Yeah, and we might be seeing more than one racer because Ben Quarnaros is the fastest, but he's really hard to do. So it's possible racers will either pick Mahonic, Mars, or even Bullseye.
Well, one thing you could do actually is, if you were concerned about that, is there's no rule that says players can't switch the pods they're using, so they could do like a run, say, with Mars Guo or something, and then change to Ben once they had a reasonable time.
Yeah, they would. That's what I've done too. I know that was the strategy NachoBrado used last year for the Bunta Classic in qualifying, which was he did a bank time, as we call it, with Mars Guo, and then. Okay, Nacho said we're ready for the countdown.
Yeah, so we could be seeing a 133, possibly a 132 on this track.
Countdown has been given. We shall start, and I'll be calling, and you'll find soon enough that this track is inspired by Laguna Seca, because the tracks, they kept all the turns with it, and they don't have their names, but I found the names of a few corners in real life. So this should be fun.
Yeah, it certainly has some very similar sections. And there's a few, again, like a lot of Malastair tracks, there's a lot of alternative routes. So after the first hairpin, we've got a choice where we can go right or left. And the right route, which is very narrow, is slightly better route. And then we go over the section where the skip is, which we won't be seeing. So we see with Zelascelar, we'll be going through that section. Down through the tunnel, and then we come up to the
roll straight. This is the roll straight, and then this chicane is the corkscrew, and that is one of the hardest. That's the hardest part of this track, and on the real life Laguna Seca track is considered one of the hardest turns in the world of any racetrack.
Yeah, there's only one line that works through that corner. If you deviate from it, you're not gonna survive, basically. We've got the long straight, which really suits the pods with longer boosts and the faster boosts. So pods like Ben and Mars do pretty well there.
So, yeah. And there's Nacho crashing on the corkscrew. And now here's the last score with Mahonda going into his final Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, I believe Zelascelar maybe used Mahonic quite a lot last year as well, if memory serves.
Oh man, what a bummer for Zelascelar. I know he's fond of using Mahonic on this track too.
Yeah, I think if you're not using Ben, Mahonic's a pretty decent pick, actually.
Yeah, I know Mars is a pretty decent pick too.
Yeah, they have slight differences. Mahonic actually has a higher top speed than Mars, although it's not much significant. Mars has an extremely long boost, which is very useful on some sections.
And Mars also handles a lot better than Mahonic too.
Yeah, Mahonic has a very low traction, so he's a very slippery pod. Yeah, the main trouble with Ben is that you can easily underheat on this track because it's there's a lot of tight corners, so you need to be able to use his additional boost thrust effectively to really get a good time with him.
Same thing with Mars Glow.
Yeah, although Mars Glow's turning's a little bit superior to Ben, so it's a little bit easier to use the boost with him as opposed to Ben, I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree. Nacho's coming in with a 139 to 137.
That was Nacho, I believe, was it?
Yeah, that was Nacho.
Yeah.
And here comes Zelascelar with Mahonic with a 138.59. And that is 138.889. 589, I think it was.
Yes. Are you looking at the stream on your phone?
No, I'm not. For some reason, I can't get it clear on this stream on Discord.
Oh, right, okay. I've got a much clearer view, actually, of the numbers, so...
And Nut comes in with a 140.5353.
That's a pretty decent time with Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
And Zelascelar is now switching to Ben after doing a bank time with Mahonic.
I guess he heard us.
Here we go. Nacho doing the final corkscrew. Okay, Nacho's towards the end now. And Nox going with Ben too after getting a banker time with Mars.
Yeah,
And a 138 for Nacho. 138. Didn't catch that because it was too blurry for me on my end.
Yeah, I think he's already had a 137 already, so
Yeah.
the situation hasn't changed here. So at the moment we've got Nacho in the lead with a 37.2, Zelascelar with a 38.5, and Not with a 140. I don't think Domirae has completed the 3-lap time yet.
I don't think so either. And here comes Zelascelar with another time. He's coming in with a 137.84. $137.841 for Zelascelar with Ben.
Yeah, so he will stay where he was because he already has a 38.5 with Mahonic.
Yeah, but he's going to. But he now has But now he beat his Mahonic time with Ben.
All right, I thought that was a slower time actually. I had a 38.5 for him with Mahonic.
Oh, interesting. We'll see. And here comes Domirae. He's in his final lap.
Yeah, and he just had a good second lap there with a 30.4.
Yeah. Here we go. Final roll straight. Here comes the corkscrew. Nails it. Goes through the rainy curve. Fine.
Heat as well.
Okay, this is going to be a fast time for Domirae.
Yeah. Yeah, keep your eyes.
31, 32, 132, 133, 132.804.
That was a crazy time.
That's actually close to world record pace.
Yeah, that was a 32.6, I think.
Yeah, it was like a 32.804 or a 604.
Yeah, I think it was a 6:04. So yeah, that's an excellent time for just of having a 15-minute window.
It's a new lap record.
Oh, new lap record and crashes into the Andretti hairpin.
It's a slightly longer track. We've got a bit more time to do some attempts here. We've got some long tracks coming up after this one.
Yeah. Arranged very differently. Gravine is super winding, very much like a typical Formula One track where they tend to be very curved and windy. And the Gauntlet is a pretty straightforward track for the most part, apart from one part at the very end, which is a big hazard. But I'm not going to say it until we reach that track. And Domirae comes in 132.448.
Yes, that's a 2/10 progress there for Domirae.
Here we go. We see Zelascelar and Nach on their final laps with Ben. Nach, nice corkscrew by Nach.
Nice chicane as well.
Yeah. Not quite enough to beat his Mars time, though.
Yeah, he's just struggling to, she's struggling to use the heat from the boost here. So just a little bit more. She can just use the boost a little bit more. She'll get a much better time. So not the easiest thing in the world to do, of course.
Particularly when Ben is so stiff. He is a very stiff handling pod, so I like to remark sometimes on these winding tracks that trying to handle Ben on them is like akin to handling a dragster on a Formula One track.
Yeah, he's very unresponsive, so he doesn't really turn very easy. Like his turning is quite good, but it's very sluggish. Yeah.
And the funny thing is that how the corkscrew has has ruined so many attempts. And I will note that turn on Laguna Seca is one of the most infamous turns of any track in the world in real life. Okay, 31.0 Zelascelar. Buster's on his final lap. Final roll straight. Final corkscrew. Final rainy curve. Okay, this looks like he's gonna hit. He's gonna bust. He's gonna bust his 138 easily.
Yeah, it looks
and
like
a 135.486 for Zelascelar.
It's a new lap record.
Nacho's going into a final lap with a new lap record, but it could have been. Final roll straight for Nacho. Oh! Crashes in the roll straight before the corkscrew. Nacho's on really good pace until then. What a bummer.
Yeah, Zelascelar's overtaken Nacho, I think, with that last performance.
Yes. We have enough for 2 more full attempts.
Yeah, you have to be good at kind of judging what sort of pace you're on really with this, and then using that as your guide as to whether or not you think it's worth restarting any particular run. It takes a little bit of a while to get a feel for the pods as well. I think when you switch your pod, you have to sort of, it just takes you a few laps really to adapt to the different handling.
Definitely, because of how the pods are. For the most part, we will. Because this track, I know I used Bullseye for my record back in the day, just because he's so agile here. But Ben, Mars, and Mahonic are easily faster than him. And here we go. Nacho is going into the final lap again. Roll straight. Dreaded corkscrew. Not bad this time. Okay, Nacho is on. Oh! That bunk ruined it for him. What a bummer. A 29.88 for Domirae.
Yeah, it's extremely quick lap.
Yeah. Nails the corkscrew and rainy curve. Don't think he's gonna quite beat his time. Let's see, 30. 132.382 it looks like.
Yeah, I think he did.
I think he beat it.
I mean, Zelascelar is closest to him, and he's 3 seconds behind. So, difficult to beat, I think.
Yeah. And now we're going into the final minute of attempts. Up! Oh no. Okay, this will probably be Nacho's last attempt. And it looks like Domirae is calling it. He's happy there.
Yeah, I mean, there's some tough players in this group. Actually, this is a difficult group to qualify with, I would say.
Yeah, Domirae is now 2nd overall. Okay.
Last few seconds. No, didn't enter last year's tournament. This is her first event, I believe. Just replying to Asda there.
I just mentioned time's up. So this is going to be Nacho's final attempt. So just now we're waiting on Nacho.
Yeah, I think he's having a bit of a rough time with this final attempt. I'd be surprised if he does better here, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Good chicane.
Yeah, really good corkscrew. 32. Not bad. He has to really... And there he goes. And with that... Okay, next we're going on to Gravine Gateway, which is the most brutal and winding track in the whole game.
Yeah, I think this is probably my favourite of the qualifying tracks for this year. So it has, a lot of sections. It's one of the few tracks we have to use the brakes, so that's always good, I think. It's very demanding of some racing lines. You can see certain sections of the swamp and the canyon section are very notorious sections of this track. And we'll be seeing Bullseye most likely from these players now, because his pod is just much more agile, has good cornering speed. So his characteristics are much better as opposed to Ben, who it's extremely hard to use on that track.
And I just gave out a warning saying, make sure to take a run with crashes for your first attempt, because this track will crash you so much.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
So this track is one that's all about agility and handling, which Bullseye is just the most agile pod in this game by a decent margin. He's the narrowest, handles the best, excellent boost thrust, and as a result, he beats everyone else on Gravite and Gateway.
Yeah, and there aren't really hardly any long straights at all. So, pods like Ben and Mars, well, perhaps Mars is quite good actually because of his turning, but a pod like Ben, you really can't get a good average speed on a track like this with that pod. So, most likely they will be going with Bullseye. Although one thing I would say is that on such a dangerous track, he is very susceptible to taking damage. So it's very easy to take a death with him on a track like this. So you still got to be very careful, if you don't want to lose too much time.
Yeah, this is okay. Okay, they're ready for the countdown, so I'm giving it out now. And okay. Looks like Nux going for a bank time with Anakin.
That's actually quite sensible, I think, because Anakin's pod is kind of like a worse version of Bullseye's. So it's I would say probably easier to drive actually, and gives you just a little bit more kind of thinking time, especially on these really long tracks. So yeah, I would say it's quite a good decision, perhaps. Yeah, certainly looking forward to seeing how this will start. But I'm thinking maybe, what do you think? Do you think we'll see a sub 410 here?
I feel like only Domirae, King Bean Dip, and Ace will really go for it. And this is why you crash right away. And so it's a very winding track. You have this specific turn.
Yeah, some very tight and fast corners in this track.
Yeah.
Now the section Domirae is going through with the swamp, very hard to see, incredibly disorientating. If you don't know the circuit, it's virtually impossible to get through this section in one piece.
Yeah.
And then this section, the swamp, which is, if anything, even worse. I remember when I first played this track, I got lost. It took me a few minutes just to realise where I was going. So, yeah, tough track.
Yeah, it's ranked by the top by speedrunning players as the hardest track in the whole game.
Yeah, but Domirae clearly knows what he's doing here. He's got a good boost management, I would say, with a very quick first lap time coming in there, 24.8. That's very excellent.
And then Domirae is now coming up to another critical part, which only happens on the second and third laps, which I like to call the Quake shortcut. Because you'll see an earthquake, then you have to turn and brake like Domirae just did.
Yeah, almost missed it there, but yeah, very good, interesting corner, I think, that one.
Yeah, it saves like 5 seconds over going the way around it, like to the first lap.
Yeah, nice turn from Zelascelar actually on that section.
And yeah. And here comes Nacho with the Quake shortcut. Fumbles it.
Yeah, and obviously in any case, I don't think anyone really wants to get the penalty time. I don't actually know what they are, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty terrible.
Yeah, penalty time for this track is 7:30. 7 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, Domirae there with a 22.8 second lap, so I think he is on pace for a sub 4:10, if I've worked this out correctly.
Yeah. And
quite a lot of braking for the corkscrew turn.
yeah, this is one of the tracks where you have to use the brakes. Here we go. Final swamp for Domirae.
Yeah, nice lines here.
Looks like Nacho is going to gut through and take that crash.
We've cleared the most dangerous sections of this track now, so
401, 5, 6, 7. He got to sub 410. 409.597 it looks like.
yeah.
Jeez. That is an insanely solid time for Grapevine Gateway. I know, I think only King Bean Dip, Ace, Domirae, and a runner who will not name who has left the community got that time.
Yeah, I won't tell you what my PD is here.
Okay.
Looks like Nacho's coming in for his 3-lap time.
Looks like a 439.
It's just over 440, I think. Just
448.208 it looks like.
yeah, we should probably mention that's still actually a very decent time, 4 minutes 40 for this track.
Yeah. Yeah, any time below 5 minutes on Grapevine Gateway is pretty good.
Yeah, I think this sort of track you can save. It's just possible to save so much time just because of the nature of the game, and you have to be so aggressive with the boosts in these twisty sections to make up that time. Yeah, it's just so difficult, really.
And it looks like Nacho's stream has froze. There it is. Now it's back.
Yeah, for the moment, Zelascelar in his final swamp looking to, excuse me, just come up for his first 3-lap time, I think.
Yep.
He looks like he's on pace for a sub 5.
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna Looks like he's gonna be sub 430. 424.78.
Here at the Scotch Party.
424.783.
So Zelascelar has pushed Nacho down to third place for the moment.
Oh, Nock didn't break enough to do the quick shortcut on the final lap. Uh-oh. Nacho crashed.
Nock is coming for her first
Relap
three-lap
attempt.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, getting sub 5 with Anakin's is always going to be very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, the other... Because Bullseye's the fastest for this track by wide margin, but second is actually Neva Key, again for agility reasons.
Yeah, definitely.
We have a 540.30 from Nock. 540.304 for Nock for the first attempt.
Ooh, painful crash from Nacho there in the swamp.
Yeah. And Nock's switching over to Bullseye, so it looked like she went for a bank time with Anakin, and then is gonna go harder with Bullseye.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy, actually.
I will note too, which compounds and 432 for Nacho, but I'm not so sure if he got anything farther. Looks like a 432.249.
Yeah, that is an improvement, but it doesn't change his ranking, unfortunately. But he did save 8 seconds there.
Yeah. Crashed right into the wall.
Oh, that was a strange death from Zelascelar.
You can die with strange ways with Bullseye because he's the second most fragile pod in the game.
Yeah, I didn't see what he hit there, though. It just looked like... I mean, sometimes on this game, you can just drive over things. It's a certain angle that just kills you. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. But yeah, I've never seen that before, in that position.
Yeah. Looks like Nock is dialing down her traction. 124 for Nacho. Here we go, the Quake Nacho's approaching the Quake shortcut. Very clean Quake shortcut by Nacho. That was a close call the swamp Nacho took. Swung very wide and almost slammed into a few of the pillars, through the trees sticking out of the swamp.
Zelascelar with a 130 first lap.
It's a new lap record.
Whoa, Nacho broke his lap record. He might be on PB pace if he does this well, this third lap well.
Yeah, I think he got a 28th first lap, so you can get another, say, 26, 25.
Here we go. Didn't quite make the shortcut, but at least he didn't crash.
Yeah, when you respawn, I believe it puts you back on the track.
On the long road.
So you have to go forward again, which loses you quite a lot of time. Oof, knock with some heavy damage to the front of the engines. Well, unfortunately, it's balanced, so actually the pod won't be rotating too much in that scenario.
Yeah.
And
the thing is, agree, and definitely, and also, Bullseye repairs very quickly, unlike most pods.
Yeah, unless of course you're playing no upgrades, which we did last year.
Bullseye still heals pretty fast with upgrades, even without upgrades.
Yeah, I know. I just mean like in general, like if you play bowls, for example, it's abysmal. It's
oh yeah, yes, yeah. It's best that you crash with bowls. And Nacho just got sub 430, 428.8. I'm not so 428.131. And I think that's a new record for Nacho, period, and not just for qualifying.
Yeah, that's a really nice improvement, actually. That's 20 seconds better than the first time he did. And actually, that's now placed him ahead of Zelascelar. So, very nice time from Nacho there.
Yeah, and it was deathless, too, which is really hard to do in a tournament setting.
Yeah, on this track, certainly.
Yeah, this is a track where this track tends to kill you more than others.
Well, I mean, there's just so many narrow sections apart from anything else. I mean, it's just and there's obstacles everywhere, so it's...
Yeah, and also extremely winding.
Domirae quite close there to the that ramp, that broken ramp, which leads you into the abyss. With another excellent first lap, 24.4 this time. I believe that's quicker than the pace of his initial 3 lap that he did.
And he stops because he blocked the wall.
Oof, very rough from Zelascelar there, trying to get through that corkscrew.
Yes. And knocks on her final lap. Looks like she's going to easily beat her Anakin time if she does fairly well with Bullseye.
she's currently sitting on a 540, so yeah, that's just over a minute to complete this 3-lap time. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to keep an eye on Zelascelar and Nacho, just because their times are very, very close at the moment.
Okay, Naka's going to shatter her Anakin bank time. .508 for a rookie is really good. 508.743.
Yes, that's over 30 seconds improvement there. That's can't really argue with that.
Yeah.
But I would say anybody who wants to take up pod racing, this is definitely a track to practice.
Yeah, it's just radically unique in the strategies for it compared to every other track, pretty much.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite tracks actually. It's one of those tracks that when you start, it's just a nightmare and you don't want to do it. But as you get better at the game, it's a track that, well, actually, still better, but it's a track that you come to appreciate a lot more, I would say.
Yeah. This is probably my second most hated track after Abyss, but it's just so unique. I just thought it just gives you an aspect of the game that no other track can give you.
Yeah, Zelascelar there, just unfortunately, I believe just a little bit slower. Yeah, just slightly outside of his previous time that he's done, unfortunately. So he still stays with a 4:24 for 3 laps.
And also, this is a track where you can be it's really easy, you're either really good or really bad on it because of how brutally winding this track is.
Yeah, I guess it depends if you like corners or not, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say it's probably one of the most interesting tracks for that reason. I don't really like tracks that are kind of like, you know, there's no really challenging sections because there's not really much to do on them. So I rather, from an enjoyment perspective, I rather like these sorts of difficult tracks.
Yeah, same here with me, because they're not, I don't like the tracks, but man, they are certainly ones that are very great and unique, and this is a track where it just keeps you awake the whole time because it's so turning.
Oh yeah, it's certainly a very intense experience trying to like break a 3-lap personal best on a track like this, like when you've done 2 intensely fast laps and you've got to try and just keep it together on that final lap. So Zelascelar a little bit better this time through the corkscrew turn. Nacho just going a little bit, just turning slightly too early in, just hitting the apex there. I think this game would be a lot easier if you could just play with invincibility mode.
It would be, but you'd still die to falling off a cliff or running into the Ubu Ford Vengeance Reactor Core, which you will see in tomorrow's match because that track is on the amateur circuit.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing some of those Uvo tubes today. Actually, with we've got the gauntlet coming up as well later, so you'll be able to see what we're talking about if you're unfamiliar with those. Yeah.
Yeah. Ouch. I know I've crashed many times there like Zelascelar did. It's really hard to nail, even without upgrades.
Yeah, it's just two corners. You barely get any respite really between the turns. I mean, there's a very short straight between the canyon section and the swamp
Jungle
section.
swamp.
That's about all you get. That's about as much rest as you get on this track.
Yeah. And it's also the reason why Bullseye is so much faster than everyone else here.
Yeah, his short boost duration definitely isn't an important factor for this track, so that's why, you know, with his good boost thrust, it makes sense, you know, and his turning, that he'd be a good pod here. I think even his brakes are pretty decent as well, I believe.
Yeah, I think he's either tied for first or second in braking.
Yeah. And acceleration as well, but not the highest. The highest is neither key, but
It's a tie between Neva Key and Arc Bumpy,
and Art Bumpy Roost, yeah.
Yeah, third is actually Team Topagales, and fourth is Toy and Clegg, and then Bullseye is sixth with another pod, which I forgot.
Well, I know Mars has pretty good acceleration, so but
yeah,
it's still good. And actually, you probably don't need any more than what Bullseye has. I think his acceleration is good anyway, good enough for this.
No, I feel like the way too, because the acceleration for Neva Key and Arc Bumpy Reese is so intense, it feels almost too energetic to control.
Yeah, it's like sort of like an 80s F1 turbo car, isn't it?
Oh, like it just takes forever and then just surges?
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of where I got my idea from for that challenge. Like, we had a weekly challenge a little while ago, and that's partly why I sort of suggested. It was one of the factors I considered when I suggested putting in Arc Bumpy Roost with Grabvine with the mirror mode.
I had no idea.
Domirae.
4:07.8 with a crash to the finish. That looks like a 4:08.027. Oh my god. That is like 4:08.022. That is crazy fast for ILs, let alone tournament.
Yeah, it could be the winning qualifying time for this track, actually.
I'm not so sure. The only one who could probably challenge them is Ace, and Ace mentioned how Gravine Gateway is one of his favorite tracks here. This is one of his favorite tracks.
Yeah, certainly, but obviously, like the question is, can you do it in half an hour? That's the thing, isn't it? So it will certainly be very interesting to see.
Yeah, and yeah, which is kind of crazy. I didn't expect to see that.
But getting down to 3 minutes now, and obviously with the the track times being sort of 4 to 5 minutes, then they're only sort of going to get 1 or 2 more full attempts in here. So yeah, they definitely need the longer time for these long tracks, basically, which makes sense. Is Domirae calling it a day, or is he going to do another attempt at it?
I think he's calling it. That's a 408.022. That is just... Most people can't even come close to that with ILs, let alone in tournament.
Yeah, usually to get a time like that would take quite a few hours, I imagine, for most people.
Yes.
If at all.
Yeah, if at all. If at all is the best way to describe it. Oh no! And Nacho is calling it. He just went to quit race.
Yeah, these sort of tracks, they're very fatiguing, I think. And after you've done, if you do quite a lot of runs in one go, you can easily kind of burn out, and it becomes rather difficult then to keep going.
Also, looks like Zelascelar is calling it too. So now we're just waiting on Knock.
Yeah, she's not going to beat her previous time because that was a 5:08. So yeah, these could be the last attempts that we're going to see for this track.
Looks like all the runners are calling it with a minute to go.
Yeah, so Domirae has won every track so far. So Nacho took second on Grabvine here with a 4:20. Zelascelar with a 4:24. And Knock with a 5:08 with Bullseye, I believe.
Yeah, bullseye. All bullseye.
Yeah, and now we're moving on to the longest, I think, track in the game, certainly by distance. So this track has got the infamous Uvo tubes we discussed.
Gauntlet.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes the tube so brutal on this track is that the rest of the track is really easy and relaxing, and then it sucker punches you right at the end.
Yeah, the rocks can be pretty annoying actually in those tubes.
Yeah. Okay, we're just waiting on Zelascelar to get the go-ahead. Yeah, ping him. They're all switching to... Okay, Zelascelar said he's ready, so we're all getting ready. Great. This is great. So I'll be giving the countdown. We're going to have another 30 minutes to do this track, but this one's a lot easier. Probably, I would say, probably the easiest track in the invitational circuit, if it weren't for the tube.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, it'd be the longest track by distance. It's also, in terms of time for these, the tracks that we're using for qualifying here, it's also going to be the longest for time as well. So we're probably going to be looking at a time of around 5 minutes at best here or so.
Yeah. Yeah, world record is around 4:59, but that is like practically close to max, and I don't expect that. But a time around 5 minutes would be expected.
Yeah, boost management is important on this track actually, and actually there's a section where we go over a very high friction surface, and if you don't boost over it before you start on it, then when the pod is below a certain percentage of its top speed and a few other factors as well, I believe, you can't actually boost. So what happens is you end up underheating if you're not careful, and that can really be very painful for your time.
It also needs a pod that boosts a long time too, because a pod that has a booster run out very quickly is not going to make it the whole off-road.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. And the section that Domirae's just gone through is the bit we're referring to.
And Domirae's taking a tighter line that was found just recently. And that was another one. It's a tight line, but if you mess that one up, you usually crash or take heavy damage. And now we're getting into the toilet bowl, which he's trying to jump over. This part can be a little hair-raising because if you touch the wall, you tend to crash usually. And you boost on this long section. And
now this is the tube we were discussing.
Yeah, it comes at the very end. And what makes this tube even more brutal is that tilting in these tubes can be really dangerous to outright deadly at low frame rates especially. And right at the entrance of that tube is this rotating gate which changes its hitbacks on you very quickly. And so if you tilt, you just spin out of control trying to dodge the tube, which makes it really difficult entry. And it's a very difficult one to exit with because you have to try to pull up and hold still because you often tend to crash exiting and entering the tube especially. It's a very brutal tube.
Yeah, you've really got to know what you're doing with it if you start doing things like tilting through it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it also has a skip section which Nacho is, well, actually Nock is, she was about to come up to that section, but the section that Nacho just went through, there is the option there of riding up the side of the wall, and you can actually jump and skip the majority of the track as well. So obviously there's no skips for this qualifying round, but that's something we'll probably see later in the tournament when we'll have the option for players will have the option to use forces in which skipping will be one of those forces that they can employ for when they select tracks with their opponents.
.140 first lap? That's really insane.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of time just missing that boost there, but I don't think that's going to matter too much.
And another thing about this track too is that on that bright shiny surface that looks like a bright shiny newly concrete road, that path will have asteroids that will catch you on fire. So that's why they try to avoid that section as much as possible.
Yeah, so over this section here, where Zelascelar, as you see, it's very important to manage your boost effectively, just so we can make this straight towards the right.
Yeah. The pods with the highest boosts for us than the longest boost durations, like Bulls, Ben, and Mars, are by far the most reliable at doing that off-road shortcut, because if you heat manage correctly, you can boost the whole way down that off-road path with them, and you don't need to worry about running out. .139 second lap.
Yeah, so it looks like we could possibly see a sub 5 here. Yeah, it's certainly going to be close if he can keep this pace going.
It's a new lap record.
See how close Nacho was to hitting the top wall there after the exit of the tube.
Yeah, I've usually had the opposite happen, where I would have upon exiting the tube, my pod would slam down in the ground at full force and crash me.
Yeah, do you think that was a low frame rate thing?
I'm not so sure, but the tubes are just terrifying at low frame rates.
Yeah, you certainly get some strange things happening when you run this game with low frame rates. But yeah, 3 of our 4 runners here on their final lap, so we're going to have to keep a close eye on how they get on. Domirae could be on pace for a 5-minute or so lap here. 3 laps.
Yep, he's on pace for it. 4:59! My God! 4:59 in qualifying. That's crazy. 4:59.164. And here comes Nacho with a really solid 5:04.93. And Zelascelar with a 5:18.708.
Yeah, very respectable time from Nacho there, I thought.
Yeah. Crazy time by Domirae. Breaking 5 minutes is really hard on this track. Looks like Nacho's stream froze again.
Am I right in thinking that with the bowl jump, there is an additional skip there where you can go to the right?
I think so, because it cuts through some of the parts similar to the Rockwall ride we were talking about earlier, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I'm familiar with that one. I don't think it's one that really has any real meaning to it. I just think it was another additional skip that was found, if I understand correctly.
I think so, because I know the Rockwall was founded back when we were competing back in 2009. Still remember skip hunting for that because you didn't make it public at first.
Yeah, and there's a few new ones as well. We found there was one found relatively recently with the rock jump skip, which is.
And then we found an even newer one where you do a 180-degree turn and then launch off one of those rocks.
Yeah, so it had the same idea, and it just put with turning around first while you're at lower speed, which makes sense actually. They're pretty risky strategies. I remember, I think somebody tried that in last year's tournament, didn't go too well.
Yeah, that was Metallica, I think, against you.
Yeah, it's definitely a very high reward, very high risk type skip, that one. Not all skips are equal, certainly, some of them are much easier than others and much more reliable. And that's certainly not one of them.
The Abyss skip is probably the easiest one, and I know you found that one too.
Yeah, well, Abyss just had to have an easier skip because, I mean, who wants to do the whole track,
Oh yeah, it's an awful track full. It's my most hated track because you fall off the top track and it just destroys your whole ride.
Well, I think the words consistency and Abyss don't really go together.
Yeah. The skip is honestly more consistent than the full track, ironically. The only case, I think, in the game.
Yeah, that's true, I think.
Because the skip is just absurdly easy to pull off, particularly with Land Sandage or Mars Glow. Yeah, I'll also mention.
I remember back in the day we were using Mars, I believe.
Yeah, until someone found out that Land Sandage launches even faster.
Yeah, I don't think I ever considered trying Land Sandage actually until then. So.
Yeah, I tried Land Sandage first without upgrades.
Yeah, that might have been sensible.
I did try to do that skip with upgrades with Juan, and my god, he launches like a rocket.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was thinking the acceleration would probably be the issue here. I think when you fully upgrade pods, sometimes certain stats can be really quite overwhelming. I mean, I think acceleration in general in this game can be pretty ridiculous. So yeah, it's something you've got to be careful with.
Particularly with Neva and Bumpy.
I always think if they can accelerate that quick, they should be able to do like 5,000, speed. That's what's. I mean, they must just have a drag factor of like 1,000 or something. I don't know. It's just Star Wars racer physics here.
Yeah. And then you have the physics of the fact that they're going so fast and don't have any fuel tanks, despite having jet blasts.
Yeah, I always thought with the boosters, because technically the only thing limiting them is the temperature of the engines. If you didn't have any overheating issues, presumably you could just boost forever. So yeah, I don't quite know how that works either, but there you go.
Well, that also works with jet turbines in real life, where they're pushed to the brink of failure to get maximum power and efficiency with thrust.
Yeah. I guess that's why it's a science fiction racing game, as opposed to a simulator.
Yeah. And the funny part is that Ben Quarnaros, which they're using here, he's the fastest pod in this game by a decent margin, fully upgraded. And in the movie, he blows up on the starting line without moving a single bit.
Yeah, although I think I substituted a post probably a couple of years ago where I did some research on the intentions of how the pods perform in the game versus how they were intended to be performed in the movie, and I think that Anakin's pod was actually intended to be the fastest, and I think Ben's was, in terms of top speed, I believe was second. It was very, very close. It was something like 940 kilometers per hour, I believe.
Yes. Oh, the biggest changes, I would say, from the movie to the game are Gasgano and Sebulba.
Yeah, I would say Anakin's a disappointment as well in this game.
Oh yeah, yeah. Saboba is like a real letdown. He's the slowest pod fully upgraded.
Yeah, we should probably mention that includes the boost thrust though. So actually, in terms of his speed without a boost, it's actually the highest when there are no upgrades. But for all the upgraded pods, they're all equal. So that stat actually doesn't it doesn't matter at all. So unfortunately, I think he's basically the slowest pod pretty much with max upgrades.
Yeah. I think even when Sandage is faster than him, and he has a slightly lower boost thrust than him.
Yeah, I think when I did some tests on it, I think I found that like the slowest pods included Sebulba, Team Topageles, and Wan Sandage. Yeah, I know that Wan Sandage is the slowest with no upgrades, but that's because he has a combination of an abysmal non-boost top speed and a very poor boost thrust. So I think he barely goes over the speed these pods do when you're not boosting, even when you are with him. So yeah, it's a painfully slow pod to use, really.
Yeah.
Looks like Nock is coming in for her 3-lap time.
Oof! Crashing into the two. They even mentioned in the lore that this
So I think all 4 of our players have got a 3-lap time now. Yeah, Domirae sitting on a sub 5 minutes, 4:59.6. Nacho with a 5:04.9. And I didn't quite catch the last time, but I believe it was about 5:10. So he's currently sitting in 3rd position for this track. All right, it looks like my I think my co-commentators just rejoined me again, I think.
Yeah, my internet dropped, my connection dropped, so I had to sign back on.
Thought you're just deliberately abandoning me.
No, the computer decided to crap out with its internet connection for me.
Yeah, I know.
Now
I'm joking. I'm joking. So Zelascelar looks like he's managed the off-road section pretty well, if you can call it off-road. Oh, taking a nasty crash there. It's a bit unfortunate. And Nacho coming in for, let's see if he's on pace to beat his 3-lap time. It's going to be close. Oh, taking a death just at the end of the tube.
That part always seemed to kill me back in the day.
Yeah, I don't think he's very happy about that. Although I don't think I would be, so I don't really blame him.
Yeah, so
We're down to the final 10 minutes or so now of this first qualifying group. Yeah, Nacho and Zelascelar have been very close actually this whole match. It'll be interesting to see if Zelascelar can save any time here and challenge Nacho for this final track. I'm guessing that Domirae feels like he's possibly on pace to beat his previous time as well.
$53, $55, $56. Not quite.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of time just in that last tube, actually. So. It was 1/100th of a second slower than his best time there.
And Nuck takes a crash in the tube. One other strategy that is tend to use for ILs of this track, particularly with Vengeance and Executioners, that they would usually put an AI on this track because the AI would take out rucks for you in those tubes.
Yeah, it's a good point actually, and it looks like none of them are doing that right now.
Well, I don't think it works. Well, I think it's because the AI doesn't crash into the rocks as reliably on the Gauntlet as it does on Executioner and Vengeance.
Yeah, I think that's true actually. Thinking about it, I don't think I've ever noticed AI doing anything on this track particularly. But yeah, it's certainly helpful on Vengeance, for example. It looks like pretty much all of them are using the ball jump strategy.
Number is going to restart. This is... Oh, usually when Nacho does something, what Nacho just did is usually what kills me on exiting the tube. Got really lucky there. But I just, since I had the internet cut out, I was going to mention that this planet they're racing on is actually an asteroid moon, and it hosts a prison colony where prisoners are sentenced to Minor, and the warden sponsors pod racing events to keep the prisoners happy, and even threw the rocks into the tubes as to delight the prisoners in seeing pods crash. Okay, Nacho's calling it.
Yeah, I guess he feels he can't beat Domirae's time, but Zelascelar, be interested to see how he does here on the final few sections of this track.
Oofa! Zelascelar crashes into the rock at the last second.
Yeah, I think he was actually a bit behind anyway. Although, having said that, of course, is that there are. I presume all competitors are being ranked. Are they all being ranked together, or just in relation to each other, like in the match that they're playing?
They're going to be ultimately put into a broad rank, which will determine how the groups are seeded for the next bracket. So basically, this qualifying will determine the next stage of the phase, which is the round robin, and then after that, that group will decide who enters the final double elimination bracket.
Yeah. So what I mean is, for example, with the qualifying round is, obviously we've got 23 players. Does that mean like they will be ranked 1 to 23 on each track, or will they be ranked just 1 to 4 for each track in their group, and then the seeding will be based on that? So like for like, ranks from different groups.
Well, the qualifying ranks are going to be the overall total for all these 4 tracks. So their fastest time on Mongaza Speedway, Doug Derby, Gravine Gateway, and Gauntlet will be combined together for an overall time, and that overall timing will determine the seeding order from qualifying.
Yeah, which will be 1 to 23, presumably, for the moment.
1 to 23, presumably, at the moment, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so that's right. I understand right now. Okay. Yeah, I forgot that it was an accumulation of the times as opposed to the individual track times.
And I think it looks like Zelascelar is calling it too. Yep, Zelascelar is calling it, so we're just have Domirae and Nach left. Okay, we have Domirae. Oh, Zelascelar's going for one more attempt. And here comes Domirae in the final lap. This will probably be his final attempt from the looks from how it's going.
Just replying to Stabitha. No, I don't think they have Huttese, but I know they have. I believe last year had German and French. So yeah, I think for the finals last year we had it in 2 different languages.
French and German, because I remember after the match you accidentally went to the German channel at first. And since Huttese is a made-up language, it's not going to do well for this.
Well, we've already at the very start of this tournament seen some very excellent racing on 4 of the most fun tracks in this game.
Here we go. This is probably his Dom's final attempt. And not enough, but doing it so consistently is insane.
It looks like I've just had a notification. It looks like we're running quite low on time, actually. So
yeah, I'm at about. There's about. Yeah.
So I don't know if we'll have time for interviews.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, time's up.
Yeah, so these will be the last attempts now.
Yeah, and since Nacho and Domirae already called it, we are just going to live on air. So we're just going to wait for these final times. Both are on their final attempts.
Yeah, so they won't be able to restart any more races at this point.
Oh, and Zelascelar crashed, and there he goes. He's calling it.
Yeah,
So
I think
now
he knows at that point he can't beat Nacho's time. But Knock on her final lap could be on pace to beat her previous time. I think it was a 5:35. Let's see how she gets on.
Yep, she's gonna get a much better time. 5:20, and that's a 5:20.240.
Very nice.
So those totals. So that's the first qualifying match. Fortunately, that's we have no time for interviews. So good luck, and may the force be with you.